finished the helmet. Now it's onto the visor. The visor fits it perfectly, which is horrible because I can't see through it. I picked up some transparent acrylic. Yeah? So what we're going to do, we're going to tape off the ends and fill this with plaster of Paris. Once it's dried, we're going to take the whole thing out, sand it, put on a little layer to make it a little thicker, because if it's perfect, if I make it any smaller, it won't. Smooth everything out, either Vacuform or heat form the acrylic on top of this. It's going to be interesting, so let's get to it. I'm using foil tape here. It's a bit overkill, but I find foil tape to be relatively bulletproof. I don't have many issues when it comes to using foil tape. Lots of other things leak. I rarely have foil tape leaking. It's a bit more expensive. Like we found out with the helmet, cheap isn't always best. So I'm just trying real hard not to pull on this because I don't want to distort the shape any. Which is another reason I want to use foil tape, because it's really good at conforming. And I'm not really concerned with how these ends look, because we're not worried about forming the ends. We're worried about forming the visor itself. So I just went 2 across, and now I'm going to do a bunch in. Yeah, come around. There we go. That's a little more cozy. So I just went 2 across. There's still a little gap down here. And I want the whole thing to be watertight. So I'm just going to put a bunch of them this way. Making sure I'm overlapping. That's probably good enough. I'm going to put another one on this side. And then call it done. On this part, I have to do the same thing on the other side. So do the same thing on this side. Got both ends done. Pretty happy with that. All the edges look like they'll hold. The only thing I really have to worry about is water. Is it leaking through here? But not much I can do about that at this point. Foil tape is designed to be airtight. It's designed to stop anything from getting through furnace ducts. So I figured, it's good for that. It should be able to stop some plaster, which is why I'm using this instead of like a duct tape. I'm using a duct tape. I just feel it makes a better seal. So when this fills up, it will also give me an edge to let me know where to cut. So in theory, that should be good enough. Okay, this thing should absolutely be watertight now. Let's mix up some plaster and find out. For the record, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to bring you in and move you. Let's start over. Again, for the record, I have no idea what I'm doing. We're just kind of winging it here. I grabbed my my paddle for my suspended slurry. I figure that'll mix things well. I have a Tupperware container I'm going to mix everything in, and my dye pot in case everything goes south. I have no idea how much plaster I'm supposed to use. I mean, I could read, but that'd be crazy. And again, I'm just using standard plaster of Paris. Hydrocal would be way better, but I'm only making like 2 or 3 of these things. And Hydrocal is way overkill. I'm going to make a small batch, which I think is that, I don't know. Again, I'm going by feeling here. It says it sets in 20 to 30 minutes. I remember it setting much faster last time I did this. And I believe the more water you use, the slower it sets. We went from not a lot, or not enough, to way too much real fast, by the way. Add a little at a time if you're going to do this yourself. I'm treating this just like a slush mold at this point. So this consistency is what I would expect. And I just have my visor on a roll of tape to keep it from rolling. Let's say we're about a third of the way there. What the heck, right? See where that puts us. This is definitely not its intended purpose. So the directions really aren't going to be appropriate for what we are doing. But since I have an empty container now, that should be enough. With high walls like this container, really just give it the beans. Still, it's kind of soupy. Just doing small batches until I get all the way to the end. Okay. And that's that. I think that's about where we need to be. Gonna let it cure for as long as I can. It's been about 3 hours. Nothing leaked out. It sounds solid. That came right out. It still feels pretty damp. And then we're gonna give it another hour, maybe 2. You know what? It's 5 o'clock. We'll deal with it in the morning. I want to pull the foil tape off so it's got a chance to aerate or evaporate from all sides. Yeah, that makes sense. I started to peel it off, but I kind of want to do it here with us. I don't want to miss a thing in case something weird happens or something interesting happens. You never know. You know? Plus, it's a cool moment. Kind of wanted to share it with you. Hard part's going to be getting it out from the PLA mold. Just carefully trying to work the edges out. I don't want to mess up this positive at all. In my infinite wisdom, I did not use mold release. So this is going to be a little difficult to get out. But I thought it was a perfect time to use my getting into car tools. They're soft and should not damage the plaster too much. Again, the smart thing to do would have been to use mold release, but these things happen. I was in kind of a hurry and I really wanted to do the thing. Can't really see anything that I'm doing, can you? Let's pull you over here. So these 2 pry bars. I'm just kind of working my way along, trying to open everything up. It's all concaved and convexed, so it should just, you know, eventually pop loose. Again, a little bit of mold release would have saved a lot of this trouble. The name of the game in this build apparently is not forethought. Looks like we got down to here. So I don't care what happens to the PLA. It's the plaster I want it to keep. Well, that was slightly unexpected, but kind of expected. Pretty sure once you get like half off, the rest of it's just going to come right up. That's the hope. It's probably not what's going to happen, but you know, I can pretend. Just work our way around. Just so we're all on the same page, I really don't know what I'm doing. all an experiment for me too. This entire process might not even work. Gotten this much off. If I can get to here, I think the whole thing will just pop. At least it's what I'm hoping. It's the lie I keep telling myself. Oh. That's what I wanted to hear. Like that. That is where we're at. Not too shabby. If I'm being completely honest, I didn't expect that to work. But it did. Not too shabby. I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll give me the exact mold I need. If I were to Vacuform this, I'd be worried about all of the layer lines. But since I'm just going to heat it and kind of shape it, I'm a little less worried. Real quick, I'm going to measure, cut the length, grab my heat gun, and then just slowly heat this thing up. Just to dry it the rest of the way. That way it doesn't go through any weird thermal shock. So see you in a second. This part's going to take forever. So where I just gradually heat up a sheet of plexiglass, or acrylic, until it slowly forms over this thing. It's going to take a while. I'm going to take my time. Suddenly an ASMR channel. That's going to make a great visor. I have a feeling I'm going to burn out my heat gun before this acrylic warms up enough. We may pivot. So the other option is I just put it in my kiln. Put that in my kiln. And I leave it at 200 and just set it on top. And just let it mold itself. It'll take longer. See how difficult that would be. So this is where we're at. The kiln didn't do very much, so I brought it in, put it on my oven at 475 for like an hour, and then just pushed it down and put the rest of the 3D print on top to kind of shape it. And I'm just heating little areas and smushing them down and moving around. And this is about where we've got. Cutting off the excess made a huge difference. So I'm just going to keep heating. I haven't filmed much of this because I've been sick and I just haven't been in the mood. I've been fighting with this visor since step one, right? And it's something I'm doing wrong, clearly. It's the first time I've actually done a full visor like this. It's a very complex compound shape. It's not working out how I wanted it to. For a first attempt, it's not really a surprise. These things happen all the time. It's common. put it in my kiln, right? It's not the best kiln in the world, but it works okay. And I left it in there at 400. No, it's 350. 350 for just ages, and it didn't really do much. So I kicked it up to 400. Didn't do much. I went to 450, and my kiln started to struggle, which is weird, because I've gotten that thing up to a couple thousand degrees. Okay, it's cold out, so I took it inside, put it in the oven, and just left it. We're coming a little closer. Just a little for a second. Or I'm going to come to you. We'll just come to you so I can show you. So now the problem is, on these edges here, there's a lot of extra material. So I have to slowly pinch and pull it down to try and get it spread out. I got it most of the way on this side. I just need to, I can keep smoothing it down. But the biggest problem is the amount of time it takes. Because I have to heat a small section, deal with that little area, and then let it completely cool off. Then heat the next section, let it completely cool off. And it's just, it's very time consuming. So we're moving on to plan B. Plan B is to Vacuform. These are my frames. They are just 1/2-inch aluminum L bracket with a little, oh, that one's loose, with a little L bracket inside, so it makes kind of a thing for it to clamp onto. My Vacuform itself is pegboard. Pegboard, a little 1x material, and a hole for a vacuum. There's nothing super special, nothing difficult about it. The hardest part is it's 18 by 18, so I have to get material that'll fit. The stuff I have is 16 by 24. So it doesn't quite fit. I had to special order a large piece that is 18 by 24. So I'm going to cut it to fit, put it in between, and then I clamp it in place. But it's going to be like this. Probably like this, actually. So I can pull from the edges. Then this has just enough room that once it's vacuumed, I should be able to push it all the way down and have it just, you know, form as best it can. I'm a little worried about this. If this doesn't work, we're on to plan C, and I don't like plan C. Plan C, it's cold out, it's the middle of winter. So plan C involves a lot of stuff going on in my house. Not fond of that thought. Hopefully this works. I'm just gonna clamp everything together, throw it in the oven, and see what happens. It's currently set to 350. I've got 2 bricks in there to elevate this, so when this dips down, it doesn't hit anything. And that barely, I do mean barely, fits. So now we leave it, let it warm up. That could have gone better. The plastic is just a little too thick. Let's get a little closer. We'll do a quick autopsy and see whether this is salvageable or not. So the hardest parts to form are these edges, right? These ones right here. Because this is a nice gradual curve, but this in here has a lot of plastic that needs to get moved. I think I'm far enough in, I can just heat it. This side's fine. I mean, I've got a weird crease here I can deal with, but moving that's not that big of a deal. The edges are the hard part, and I think I've got it enough that this may be salvageable. I hope so. I do not want to do plan C. So I'm just going to heat this with the heat gun and slowly move everything like we did last time with the other side, or with the other visor. All right, let's see how it... Five times this has happened. I can't add too many more supports because I'm trying to make a mold of it. So I can't just, you know, cover the whole thing. It keeps ripping off the build plate. That printer, my Elegoo, my Mars 2, is too small. And this is even too small. I have to do it in two separate pieces. I ordered plastic almost 2 weeks ago, and it's still not shown up. The notification went to has not yet shipped. It's the last part of the project. I don't want to move on to something else while I wait for material to show up. I don't feel that's fair to me or to you to make everyone wait. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'll figure it out. Light. Round 2 of vacuforming went considerably better than round 1. You notice a couple differences? This is clear. It's because I had to use a thinner plastic. It's still acrylic, which I'm happy about. But let me pull you in so you can see what. I'm excited. Let me pull you in so you can see where we're at. All right. So we got it. It came all the way down. It's fully curved around. I am super happy with this. We're gonna have to cut the mold out, but I did exactly what I did last time, just with thinner plastic, and I didn't want to mess with everything going on, so I didn't film it. I have it curved under in the entire thing. I'm speechless. That's what I am. I got a weird nip here. I may have to cut just shy of this line instead of on it like I'd want to, but if that's the worst of it, that's not bad. Next step, cut the visor free, and use a Dremel for that. And then RIT poly dye, or RIT dye for synthetics. I'm using a nice sapphire blue. Hopefully it'll be blue enough. I've got 2 of these, and same thing we did with the Jawa eyes. I'm going to bring you along so you can see how I do this. Check that. Tomorrow we're going to re-vacuform a new one. I had it on here. I cut both sides and then I curved around, and when I here, there must have been a lot of internal stress. It just snapped. But the fact that it worked, I'm still calling it a win. It's kind of rough. I may Bondo the whole thing just to smooth out. We'll see. But it almost worked. That's a step in the right direction. It's better than we've gotten so far. It's 2 of these in the pot. I got my thermometer set. Well, let me show you that. I'm gonna wait for this. It's just a it's just a binder clip. And I have the stem threaded through, so it's not touching anything. Wait for it to get to 150, turn the heat off, wait for it to cool to 145 so I know there's no heat creep, then I'm just dumping it in, leaving it in there for a while. It's taken a long time to get to this point, and it's taking longer than it should. It's because I wasn't thinking. I was being an idiot. I saw this blue acrylic and went, I love this color, and that's what I want to use. It's too thick. It's very thick. And it's acrylic. Acrylic doesn't pull well. It has to be heated a lot. So I tried a method, didn't work. But I thought I was close, so then I tried to actually Vacuform. I got a big sheet of Vacuform. Well, that did not work. I mean, it wasn't going to work. The plastic is still too thick. I kept thinking, I'm going to be fighting the bad guys in this. Doesn't need to be that. I moved on to a thinner acrylic. That worked. It worked fine. But there was so much stress in it, the minute it hit a fracture point, the whole thing just snapped. And then I stopped and thought, and I changed materials. I went to PETG. And PETG, well, it's way thinner, but it's a visor that's fully covered by, it's almost fully in contact with the helmet. It doesn't need to be strong. It just needs to be good. First one I did, yeah, I put it in, I walked away for about 15 minutes, came back, and it had dripped all the way down to the lining on my my grates. I put foil down. So when we pulled it up, and it just wrinkled, but it gave me hope. Next one looked perfect. It fit, it vacuformed amazing. Everything. I mean, it's even still pretty durable. It doesn't feel cheesy. I was dying and dying and dying, and I accidentally let my water get to 145, and then it worked. These things happen. This was with the RIT dye that was pre-mixed. I transferred over to the iPoly dye. That stuff works considerably better. And that takes us to where we are now. Which is a completed helmet. It looks more purple on camera to me, but it's, oh my goodness. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. I've got a full 4 foot by 4 foot sheet of poly. I'm going to redo the mold. That's for a later date. Y'all don't need to watch that. That's just, but, oh my goodness, I love this thing. It turned out fantastic. So, a couple of the key takeaways. I used clear PETG. This stuff vacuforms amazing. Less than 5 minutes at this thickness, and I was just ready to go. A little bit of glue. Right? Less than 5 minutes, was ready to go. It was perfect. I don't want to set it down. I love this thing. Been playing with it all night. Takeaway number 2. When you're dyeing, 140. Do not go over 140. The iPoly dye in the packet works better than the RIT dye in the bottle. This was, I don't know, half an hour worth of, so dye it for like 10 minutes, pull it out, rinse it off, dye it, rinse it off. It's probably closer to an hour. It's about 5, 6 dips. And that's what we got. That's one. Considerably better. Don't go over 140. I also got my bigger dye pot so I could move it around more and just kind of let it be. And that seemed to help too. But oh my goodness, I'm super happy with that. this isn't the end of the video. Should be the end of the video, because this was a long video on how to not make a visor. But I'm not going to end without at least a preview of the full costume. So here we go. Alright, next week we're going to go over the full costume, what I like, what I don't like, what I would change, what I might change, what I'm going to have to tolerate. Other than that, that's it. The base armor's done. It's taken a really long time to get to this point. And I appreciate all you who came with me on this journey. It's crazy. If this is your thing, like and subscribe. We're moving on to the Mando next. You know, that one's going to be pretty interesting. That's a lot of work. There's more sewing in that one too, so it should be interesting. But thanks for making it to the end of the video. Hope I see you next time.